Brahman, Atman, and Maya, the Hindu view of reality explained. Have you ever looked out at a vast, endless ocean and felt a strange sense of both smallness and connection? Have you ever felt, just for a moment, that the line between you and the world just dissolved? That feeling, that deep gut intuition, isn't just a passing thought. It's at the very heart of one of the most profound philosophical traditions on earth. It is a vision of reality that challenges everything you think you know about who you are. Imagine you're a single wave rising from the depths of a huge, endless ocean. You're convinced you are separate, a unique form with a start and a finish. You dread the moment you'll inevitably crash on the shore and just end. That story, that feeling of being a temporary, isolated wave, is the story most of us are living. But what if that story is a profound misunderstanding? What if the ancient sages of India were right when they said that you are not just the fleeting wave, but the entire timeless ocean itself? This is the core vision of reality in Hinduism, a truth so deep it has the power to change not just what you think, but how you exist. And we're about to unravel it together. Section 1. Brahman, the unseen ocean of being. To understand this vision, we have to start with the biggest concept there is, so vast it has no name, no form, no gender. The ancient texts of the Upanishads call it Brahman. Brahman is the ultimate absolute reality. It's not a god, but the very ground of all being, the source from which everything comes and to which everything returns. Think of it as that infinite, silent, and motionless ocean. It is pure, undivided consciousness, the very fabric of the universe. The Hindu scriptures describe this ultimate reality as Sat Chitananda, which translates to absolute existence, absolute knowledge, and absolute bliss. It's the indestructible, eternal divine force that underpins everything. Everything you see, touch, every thought that pops into your mind, the planets, the stars, the smallest grain of sand, all of it comes from Brahman, is sustained by Brahman, and will one day dissolve back into Brahman. This isn't some being sitting on a throne. It's a power, a presence that is everywhere and in everything, all at once. It's the unseen screen upon which the entire movie of the cosmos is projected. Without that unmoving screen, the images would have no reality. In the same way, without the foundation of Brahman, the universe as we know it simply couldn't exist. It is the one, indivisible, all-pervading reality, the constant witness to all the changing things in the universe. So, if this grand, infinite reality is the ocean, what are you? Section 2. Atman, the wave that is the ocean. This brings us to the second key idea, Atman. The word Atman is often translated as the soul, but a better way to think of it is the self, the true, innermost essence of who you are. It's your core consciousness, the silent watcher behind your thoughts, feelings, and experiences. It's that unshakable sense of I that has been with you since you were a child, the constant that remains even as your body, mind, and opinions change over time. Now here is the most radical and liberating idea from one of Hinduism's most influential schools of thought, Advaita Vedanta. It declares that your Atman isn't just a part of Brahman, like a drop scooped out of the ocean. It states that Atman and Brahman are one and the same. Think back to our analogy. A wave rises from the ocean. It gets a name, a wave, and a form. It's tall or short, powerful or gentle. It seems like a separate, individual thing. But what is the wave actually made of? It's made of water. It is nothing but the ocean expressing itself in a temporary form. The wave and the ocean are one. This is the essence of one of the most famous declarations from the Upanishads, Tat Tvam Asi. It's a Sanskrit phrase meaning, You are that. You, the individual consciousness, the silent witness inside, you are that, the ultimate universal reality. Your true self isn't your body, your thoughts, your ego, or your personality. Your true self is Brahman. You aren't a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean in a drop. Section 3. The problem. If I am the ocean, why do I feel like a wave? This naturally leads to a profound and very human question, one you're probably asking yourself right now. If I'm this infinite, eternal, blissful reality, why don't I feel that way? Why do I feel like a limited, separate, anxious individual? Why am I afraid of dying if my true nature is immortal? Why do I suffer? This is the central paradox of being human. If Atman is Brahman, why do we experience ourselves as a fragile wave, totally convinced we're separate from the vast sea? Why do we live in a state of forgetting who we really are? The answer lies in the third and perhaps most mysterious concept, Maya. Section 4. Maya, the enchanting veil of illusion. Maya is the powerful force that creates the cosmic illusion that the world we see is real in and of itself. It's the veil of appearance that covers the one undivided reality, making it look like a world of countless separate things. Maya is often translated as illusion, but this can be misleading. It's not that the world isn't there, it's that the world isn't what it seems to be. The most famous analogy used to explain Maya is that of a rope and a snake. Imagine you're walking down a path at dusk and you see what looks like a coiled snake in your way. Your heart pounds, fear grips you, and you react as if a real snake is there. But when someone shines a light, you see that it was never a snake at all, it was just a piece of rope. In this analogy, the rope is Brahman, the one, true reality. The snake is the world of appearances, the universe of separate names and forms we perceive with our senses. The dim light is our own ignorance, our avidya. And Maya is that enchanting power that makes us project the idea of the snake onto the rope, causing us to feel fear and suffer over something that isn't really there. It's Maya that makes us identify with our body, our mind, and our ego instead of our true self, the Atman. Under Maya's spell, we think, I am this body, I am this personality, this is my family, my country. This false identification, this sense of being a separate me in a world of others, is the root cause of our suffering. We feel like a lonely wave because Maya has convinced us we're separate from the ocean. We fear crashing on the shore because we've forgotten that our essence is the water itself, which can never be destroyed. Section 5. Moksha, waking up from the dream. So, what's the goal of this whole philosophical journey? It's something called moksha, or liberation. Moksha isn't about becoming something you aren't. It's not about the wave transforming into the ocean. It's about the wave realizing it was the ocean all along. It's the moment the light is turned on and the terrifying snake is revealed to be a harmless rope. This liberation is achieved through jnana, the direct, experiential knowledge that your Atman is and always has been identical to Brahman. When this realization dawns, the illusion of Maya dissolves. This doesn't mean the world vanishes. The rope is still there, but you no longer mistake it for a snake. You still live in the world with a body and a mind, but you're no longer fooled by its appearances. You see the one divine reality Brahman playing in and through all the diverse forms of life. The fear of death falls away because you know your true self is eternal and unchanging. The suffering caused by a limited sense of self dissolves into the bliss of infinite being. This is the ultimate promise of Vedanta. The journey isn't about escaping the world, but about seeing it correctly. It's about waking up from the dream of separation and remembering the magnificent truth of your own being. Conclusion. This story of the wave and the ocean isn't just an abstract metaphor. It's a direct invitation to investigate the nature of your own reality. It asks you to question the seemingly solid walls of your ego and to look for the silent, unchanging consciousness that lies just beneath the surface. The ancient sages taught that you are not a mortal creature navigating a vast, indifferent cosmos. You are the cosmos itself, experiencing itself in the form of a person. The goal isn't to become divine, but to realize you have been divine all along. The journey is from the illusion of being a temporary wave, back to the profound, unshakable truth of being the entire ocean. It's the journey from fear to freedom, from separation to unity, from ignorance to the stunning realization of Tattvam Asi. You are that. If this exploration of reality resonated with you, subscribe for more journeys into the heart of philosophy and wisdom. And for a moment today, I invite you to pause, take a breath, and ask yourself a simple question. Who or what is aware of this moment? The answer might be closer than you think. Thanks for watching.